won't be able to sit at a future date. You said you're recording it.
Exactly. So
Okay.
I can send you the recording afterwards if you want, and you can play it back a later date as well. Okay, so can you see my desktop?
I can, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to launch the SolidProof application. So from what I understand, the software should be already installed and the scanner's hooked up and everything?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. Have you seen the software before? Like, have you played with it at all, or?
Well, I went to a webinar that I believe the gentleman's name was Pat.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, and then there's a instructional video left on desktop during the remote install that I listened to. I haven't really with it just yet. I don't develop any bad habits.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so I've launched the application. I get to, this is our main screen. So this is where we prepare the files in order for an inspection. So on the left here, we have the master panel, and then on the right, we have the sample panel. Okay. So we do inspections in multiple different ways. We can compare like PDF versus PDF. We can do scan to scan. There are multiple different ways that we can do an inspection. Okay. So just wait, anytime you have any questions or anything, feel free to stop me. Since it's just you and me, it should be easy. It won't be too many people talking.
Sounds good.
Right. So in order to load files, there's 3 different ways. The first way is at the bottom left, we have the folder icon. So clicking on the folder, we can click load master or load sample. So this would be to load a digital file, so a PDF, Illustrator file, and any type of image file. If we wanted to scan, we would click on the scanner icon. So from here, we could do scan master, scan sample, and that would load the scanning software in order to scan it. Okay. The second way to load a file is double clicking. So if I just simply double click on the panel, get my browse window, and then I can select up from there. The third way is I can move this window like off to the side, and I can drag and drop. So I can drag and drop a file into this window, and it would open it as well. Multiple different ways to do the same thing. So we see that as we go along, there's always a couple of different ways to do things for preparing files and going through the inspection. Right. I'm going to do a couple of files, so I'll just show you another demo of the software, like how it finds differences and how to go through them, how to generate a report, and then after that, then we can come back. We get all the options together. Okay, so I'm going to load 2 digital files. Double click, and I'm going to select my master file. So I'll just show some example files. Anytime you load a PDF or an Illustrator file, it will open up in our PDF viewer. So our PDF viewer, we can actually manipulate the file. So if I want, I can turn off, if your file is saved with layers or separations, I can turn any of them off. So let's say I didn't want to inspect the dye showing up, so I can simply double click to remove it. There's other stuff like the box, I can remove that also. I can click on checkbox to bring it into the software. So same thing for the sample. So I could load it. So maybe I'll do it a different way. So I'll click on the folder. I'll click on load sample here and load my sample file. Okay. So remember on the master, I turned off the die line. So I just want to make sure I do the same on both files, because I want to always make both files as similar as possible. Because often the software is going to flag all these extra differences when I know they aren't there because I turned them off. So again, I'll do the same thing. So I can turn off the die line here. And let's say I'm happy with the changes. I can click on the checkbox to accept the changes. Okay. So both files appear in the main here, and then now I'm ready to run an inspection. So to run an inspection, I simply click on the blue play button here, and as soon as I hover my cursor over anything, like it'll give me like little tool tips on what it does. So just in case in the event you're not sure what something does, you can always hover your mouse and it'll give you a little description to kind of help you out. I'm going to click on Run Inspection. Now it's processing, so it's comparing both files in the background, and as soon as it's ready, it's going to show me the results in the black screen here.
Okay. Now, mine's pretty typical. The sections that I just took. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it depends on the file. It depends on your system. So these two files are fairly simple, I guess. It depends on the complexity and the amount of differences that it finds. So if you had if you're getting in an image and maybe that image has a lot of differences on there, or maybe have like some kind of registration issues where everything is moving and it's flagging all those differences, it may take longer than that.
Okay.
So just to give you maybe the specifications of this computer, so I'm using a Windows 7 PC. I got 10 gigs of RAM. It's a Core i5, so I think there's I think it's a quad-core processor, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so there's 4 processors in this. So here's the display. So after you run the inspection, the file appears in the middle. So it's in kind of a flash mode. It might be hard to see on the WebEx. And then the right.
It's like it's flashing, right?
Yeah, and we can zoom in. So on any of the differences here, so we can see there's 14 differences. So it means that if a total of 14 differences between the two files. So I can go on any of the differences to go straight to it. So let's say I want to look at number 5. Click on that, it'll zoom right in on the display here, flashing in between the master and sample.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what I'm looking at because it's flashing back and forth, so I don't know what's on the master, what's on the sample. I can see what's on each view. Going up to the top left here, so a little M&S icon, so I can click on the M and it'll stay on the master. So I know on the master it said the number 2, and if I click on the S, it's the number 4.
Got it.
And then I can always go back to the flash mode like this. All really cool is the zoom. So just using the scroll wheel on my mouse, I can simply zoom in and out. So I can zoom out and I can zoom like really far in to see the differences.
Can you do that again?
Just scroll wheel on my mouse.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So just a tip, so it always zooms in wherever my mouse cursor is. So let's say if I move my mouse cursor to the barcode up here, and then I can just zoom in, and it's going to zoom in to there.
Okay.
Also, to click and drag around in here, it's the right click. So if I hold down the right mouse button and click, and then I can drag it in the view. Okay, so for any of the differences, we can apply some comments for like the reporting feature that we have. So let's say for we were on number 5, so I'm going to click back on number 5. The 2 and 4 was changing, so I can apply a comment. So I can say these are default ones. You can set them up yourself. I can show you that towards the end for the administration portion.
Okay.
So like this is maybe change. There's default comments. So I could say the text change. If none of the default comments suit me, I can always type something in. I can go to the next difference. So the X will include it into the report, meaning the X is like a difference, and the checkbox would exclude it from the report, meaning like it's not to worry about, don't include it on the report. click on the X, and it'll jump immediately to the next difference. So now we start at 5, so now it's jumping to 6. And look, another number has changed here as well.
Got it.
And then also, if you notice on the differences, so now it says major here, so that was the level that we applied to the previous difference. And there's a little yellow note here, which means that we applied a comment also.
Good. Okay.
And I could do this.
Yeah. Sorry, quick question. So
Sure.
some of the differences found, they change, some say infection, then that's the deletion.
Mm-hmm.
How does it, what does each comment mean, I guess?
Sure. So these are the type of difference that it found. So for example, changing means it's changing from one to another. Something like insertion. So if I click on insertion, means something has been inserted on the difference. So for example, on the master panel, it's like this. So number 10. And then a sample panel. So like this white space, it's considering that it's been inserted. Don't concern yourself on what it says here. Like it'll just matter for the comments and levels. Just the type of difference. So for example, if I put my so to 4, it's saying 5 has been deleted because it's removed from the sample. So if I click on the master, the number 5 is there. And then if I click for the sample, it's missing. So it's saying it's deleted.
I see.
So it's in terms of classification. And then the change is like something that's changing. So for example, like there's some image there, but it's saying it's changing from this to this.
Got it. Cool. Thanks.
Okay. No problem. So it also apply incomes to each difference. Yep. For example, something like this. So you see like the 3 caplets a day is now changed 23 caplets a day. Not a good thing. And
yeah.
so one of our famous examples. And so obviously that's probably a critical issue. And then again, I can type in a comment if I want. Okay, so let's, for example, something, okay, so let's say number 10, I expect like this barcode to be changed. I can exclude, so I don't want it showing up on the report. So let's say exclude from the report. And then let's say G is fine. So anything I exclude, you'll notice like it's on the difference list here.
Yeah.
So it means it won't show up on the report. So when I generate it, these 3 differences won't be shown.
That's it. Okay.
So all the differences, you don't necessarily need to add a level or a comment. That's just up to you guys. So if you guys decide it's part of the process, you can do that, but it's not a requirement.
Okay.
Okay, so let's have gone through all the differences. So now I'm ready to generate a report. So I want to maybe print it out or save it as a PDF. I can. So down here there's a generate report. It looks like a little clipboard. Clicking will bring up the report options. So we have options to put in the product ID, product name, product lot, and then inspected by. So I can, if I want, I can type stuff in there. If not, it's not required. I can put the overall status. So for the inspection, so I found some probably major or critical issues. So I'm going to say the status failed. So, and then overall comments of the inspection, I can put something in there as well. So click on accept, it's going to generate the report. So the report still appears in our software. From here you can print it directly to a printer. So clicking on the print button here, get the print dialog box, or I can save it as a PDF file. So I can click on the folder, click save, and it'll prompt me to save a PDF. So I could just probably put it on the desktop. If I go look on my desktop, the report should be there. So I open up in Adobe Acrobat or Adobe Reader.
Cool.
This is what the report looks like. Top we have, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask a question. So, about, like we have the barcode module.
Mm-hmm.
Where would that show up on the report?
So that would actually generate a second report. So for the barcode module, it would be a separate report.
Got it.
Okay, so I can show you that I can show you the barcode rule.
Okay.
So so these are the files we use to compare. So we have master file and a sample file. So if you're scanning in an image, it would just say scan sample or the image. And then you have the inspection. So it did one inspection. Repeat. So if this image was repeating multiple times, how many it found. So it only found it once. And this was the overall status that we put. So it was a fail. And then here you had like the report header options. So the product ID, lot, name, and then inspected by. So I left those blank. And then we have the date and time of the inspection. Okay, so this is the sample image here. And then the summary. So the inspection was successful. There are a total of 14 differences. We excluded 3 of them, so it actually mentions what we've excluded and any of the levels that we selected. So we put 1 as critical, 1 as major. The rest we left blank, so they're not showing up as the categories, but they are showing in the report. And then going down to the second page, so again, this is showing the sample. And I actually zoom in here, we can see like the differences are numbered exactly like how we saw them before. And then here we have, so for difference, we have a screenshot of what was on the master and what was on the sample, and as well as if we put any levels or comments. So the report just continues. So here we had put a level and a comment, and here as well.
Okay. So depending on how many issues that are found will determine how many pages of the report there are?
Yeah, exactly. So hope you don't have like 1,000 differences and you have like a couple of 100 pages.
Then we're doing something wrong.
Yeah, exactly. The last page we have the overall comments of the inspection. This is the set that we use, so I'll go into that later, what the setups mean and how to choose the appropriate one for your inspection.
Yeah.
And then that's the last page. So every page has also a date and time stamp, and also like the page number, so how many.
Good stuff.
Okay, so I'm done with this, so I can close it in Acrobat, and then I can back to solve. So from here, I was still at the report, so I can close this out. I can also browse the report within here as well. So just clicking on the pages on the left-hand side. You also use the navigate pages, or you can hit the drop-down. So it's incredible ways to navigate the report through our software here.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah. So I'm going to close it, so I can either hit the X on the top right, or I can just click File and then close, and I'll come back to our inspection view. So from here, let's want to do another inspection. I can. I need to go back to our main view, the one with the 2 windows. So let's click on the back arrow here at the bottom left. So clicking that will bring it back to our main view, the panels here. Okay, so let's say I have to load another file. So I could simply either double click on the panel, or remember I could do the folder and then load. So I could folder load master. So as I ran an inspection prior with these two files, it's going to give me a message saying the inspection will be cleared. And say yes, and then I can choose another file for inspection. And then I can do that. Okay, so I can also reload the same file back to its original state. So let's say I wanted to reload this master file. I can click on the double arrow here on the top. It'll reload the same file, and it reloads back in the PDF viewer.
Exactly what that means.
Sorry again?
Like with you were saying you're reloading the file. I'm not sure if I understand.
Sure. So I can reload the same file that's currently loaded. So let's say I had this file. Let's say I made some modifications. So I wanted to reload the same master file back to its original state. I can. Yeah, so I could just use the double arrow. So reload master, and they'll reload back to the original state. Yeah.
I see. I understand it. Thanks.
No problem. All right, so let's go through some the options of the PDF viewer. So you can manipulate the file so we can turn layers or separations on and off if we want. We also have an options at the top here. So separation. So anything I don't want to inspect, I can. It doesn't modify the original file. It just modifies how it displays in the software. For example, last time we took off the die line. So let's say I wanted to take out the barcode. So just double clicking on it will remove the barcodes from here. So it would depend on the graphic artist if they're creating your files in layers and separations. Hopefully they are. It'll make your job a lot easier in terms of inspection. Because if your artwork was like completely flat like this and you were inspecting the actual carton, you obviously don't have like the die lines and stuff, so you're going to catch some differences there. And also, hopefully they name it properly. So for example, like if I remove the Braille region 1, so double clicking on it didn't actually remove the Braille, but it actually removed something else. So it looks like this layer wasn't named correctly. So
it automatically detects each layer?
Yeah, exactly. So if the PDF file was saved in a state where the layers were available, the same layers and separations would be available in this software as well.
I got it.
So if it was saved in like a flattened state, or if you're loading just like a JPEG or a bitmap file, those would be flattened states, and then you wouldn't be able to remove anything. Okay, so we removed a bunch of layers. You can also refresh the PDF file in the PDF viewer back to its original state. Using the double arrows here again, just refresh it back. Right, then going to look at options at the top here. So you do have enable overprint. If, for example, the file wasn't displaying correctly, or it required overprint in order to display the colors, or maybe there was like a varnish or something on top, you click on enable overprint and it'll enable the color blending in order to display the file correctly. And then you show annotations. So if the file was saved with like annotations and you wanted to see them, you can. So just clicking on that will enable that. In compression, you only use this if you had like a really heavy PDF file. So if you have like really large, maybe sheets that you're inspecting, and if it takes a very long time for the file to load, they just click on in compression. It will compress the PDF and load it in a compressed state. The danger in doing that is, of course, it'll be a little more pixelated, so it might not be looking exactly what you're comparing against. And you have line smoothing, so this will kind of smooth out like very fine lines. What it help with is if you have a file with like very heavy graphics, sometimes graphics are created in small sections and then just like move together. So if you were to zoom really close into the file, you would see like these white outlines along the graphics where they're moved. Clicking on this will actually smooth out those lines.
Now, for example, with like enable overprint annotation, you have like another example. I'm not sure if I'm understanding that part of it.
For the overprint?
Yes.
Okay, so it'll just enable like color blending. I don't know if I have any example. Like I don't know if. Let's see if I zoom in. I don't think it was. There's an area on this where the colors are like blending together. So if just be, for example, like sometimes maybe like a gradient, or sometimes like if you open up a PDF file, like you see how this one says like the varnish free area. I've seen some where the whole, like, let's say carton was like that color, so it wasn't like blended through. So just enabling overprint should resolve that issue.
And what about show annotation?
So the annotations is on the PDF. So if you ever open like a PDF, you know, like how they have like little sticky notes and like people write like comments and stuff. It's just that's simply just to show that.
Okay.
Yep.
So I mean are those functions used regularly?
Used regularly. This is only in case if your files require it. I mean, I don't know anybody that uses the show annotations. The overprint is pretty rare. Usually the files are saved correctly. The compression, our software is really good at handling like large files, so you shouldn't really have to enable that or the line smoothing either. So I'm not sure in terms of inspection, like are you inspecting like large press sheets, or is it just like labels and cartons?
Yeah, these are going to be, it'll probably be 2 to 3 pieces of labels against a flat PDF proof. Some of our proofs are going to be flat.
They're getting flat? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, shouldn't be a problem. I can show you different ways on how to do the inspection.
Yeah.
Okay. So move along the top rows here. So we have a bunch of different icons. So the first one is crop. So we can actually crop a specific section to bring into the software. Say, for example, I want to just crop out the carton here. I can. So I can always adjust the crop later. And if I click on the box, it's going to bring in just that specific area. Okay. And then let's say I mean to crop it like that, I can refresh it again. So remember the reloader, and I'll bring it back to its original state. Careful in using this one. So it's remove item from PDF. So in the event that you don't have layers or separations, and there's something that you do want to remove, you can, but this is it'll look for like linked items, linked colors. So for example, like let's say I wanted to remove say the red here in the caplets. So clicking that, it removed it, but it might remove something else in another location.
Got it.
Let me find a better example. So like I want to remove this, the black background, but you see it removed like a bunch of other colors as well. Not really ideal. it might be useful if you're trying to remove, like, let's say the die line and it's not on a layer or a separation. So trick, always zoom in as close as you can. So you can use the zoom to selection, so it's the Marquee Zoom. So clicking on this, I can just draw a box and zoom right in. And then I can click on remove item and try to select it there. So it actually removed it, but I don't. But since I zoomed in, I'm not sure if it removed anything else. But
yeah,
I mean,
it seems like it might be dangerous.
Yeah, it's kind of dangerous. Okay, the next one is mark die line. So this one we can, it'll extract the die line and it'll use it for what we call shape extraction. So what it'll do is it'll remove the line here, but it's going to trace around the shape of it. So it's going to pick up anything outside. So I could use my idea as the remove item as to zooming in. So I zoom to an area. So I'm going to say mark done. Click on it. It says it extracted it. So if I click, if I zoom out, you see it's just temporarily missing. And I can click accept changes. It's like how everything else is kind of grayed out in their mask, and then it's tracing around that line shape.
Got it.
So if I do an inspection, it's going to find whatever is in that shape, and it's going to ignore everything outside of it. So you see over here on the so it just picks that, so everything else, all the differences that are over here are completely ignored.
Got it. Cool.
Okay, I could click on the back arrow to go back. So for that shape line, there's a few different ways. If I refresh, there's a way. So if you did have layers or separations, but it sounds like you may not, you have an option to extract it from layer. So if I simply right-click on a layer, I get another menu here. So I'll say use for shape extraction. So it's this idea. So instead of me manually selecting the die line, I can just right-click and I know the die line is the die line layer. I say use for shape extraction. So you see it kind of gets grayed out here, that the eye. On accept changes, it does the exact same thing. What's really cool about that is, let's say I'm getting all my graphics from the same graphics house or something, and they always call the layer or separation die line with the exact same wording. So I could say add to shape library. So anytime I receive a PDF file, I have to actually do anything. So adding it to shape library, like you can see, you get a confirmation. So there's like a little yellow sticky note. So it'll automatically use the shape extraction to get the shape for this carton. So the next time I reload that file, any other file, so let's say I'll choose my sample now. So you see, I don't have to do anything. There's a little yellow box here already. And then from the checkbox, I'll simply do what I wanted to do. So it's remove the die, and it's kind of like a time-saving feature.
I see. So it's doing that every single time. It saves it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So let me just, so I don't want that in the layer or to remove it automatically. I could just remove it from the library. So I can just say remove. I'll get a confirmation. Also, same thing with the last option. So if I right-click, I get hide by default. That's the same concept. Just hide the layer, but not use it for the shape extraction like we were using. So if I have this file and I never want to see, like, maybe Pantone orange, if that's a layer. Yeah, so like the braille and the orange. So I could also say by default. Okay, so this one will be hidden by default anytime I reload the PDF. Okay, then so we see the marked eyeline. So go ahead.
I was going to ask a quick question. How would you undo that? Like, someone, I'm just thinking like in the case of someone removed the die line, saved it by accident, because, maybe they're just flipping around.
Yeah, so when you go into the software, you would know it would just have like a little yellow sticky note, and then you could just right click it and just say remove from the shape library.
That's it.
Yeah, so that'll just undo what the other person did if they did it by accident.
Cool.
So anytime you load a PDF and you see like little yellow sticky note, you know that someone has either added something into the hidden it by default. So anytime there's a yellow sticky note, it means somebody did something, and you can always right-click that same layer and see if remove it. So it's not a problem. Okay, going to the top end, so the rest of these are pretty easy. So just the rotation. We see the Marquee Zoom, so we can click on this, click in this specific area, it'll zoom in. And we have the zoom in, zoom out, so I can zoom in even further, zoom out, or this one to reset the viewport. So click on this, it'll zoom it out to 100% so I can see everything on the file. And we saw it multiple times, so this is the reload, so refreshing the file back to its original state. And then the exceptions, so they'll just bring in whatever we chose into the software here.
Good stuff.
All right. In here, you can go along the top row of icons. So on both sides, they're pretty similar. On this one, we have 3 different icons. So on the master panel, color picker, so we can actually measure the color. So if I want to see what the color was for something, I can click on it, click on a specific area, and it'll show me the values in CMYK, RGB, or LAB. Okay, so the second one here is manual alignment. Let me just make this full page. So the manual alignment, it's very rare when we need to use it. The only time we'd use it is if the 2 images are not aligned. So, for example, like if I was doing an inspection, and sorry, just reload this. If I was doing inspection and maybe it was cutting off like half of the carton, so it was finding the image like on this portion here onwards, I tell the software where it should be looking, so and how to align the image. So the idea behind this is you take the same 2 points on both the master and the sample. But the easy way is just do it on maybe the top left corner. So for example, like you just zoom in, and click this icon, say manual alignment, so it'll put like a little crosshair, and then the same part on the side. So here we have the same button. So now we tell our software this is our starting point on both sides. So make sure these 2 align, and that's where to find the image. So it's rare that you would need to use this. The software is very smart into finding it, but in the events, like that tool is there. Okay, this one is crop to content. So this is if we select an area. So let's say, for example, the next one here, we have cropping mode. So full page, which will inspect the full page. We have manual. So clicking manual, my cursor turns into a little crosshair here. So I can select a specific area. So let's say I want to inspect this area here. So it's manually specifying it. So remember before in the PDF viewer we could crop. So I don't necessarily need to crop. I could just use the manual. I can say just look at this area here, ignore everything else. And if I click on play, it should find that same location on the other side. So it found it here, and there's actually no differences. Okay. And then, oh, you know what? Both of them are samples. Hold on. Let me reload a different one. Next one is auto. So click on auto will automatically put the blue marquee box around the image. So it'll just basically constrict it to the maximum points of the image. Shape it's similar to the shape extraction we saw before in the PDF viewer. So clicking shape, I can go on an area. So let's say this box here. So I know it's a box enclosed in borders. Clicking hand, it's just going to use this shape and ignore everything else. So this might be useful for you, especially since on your PDFs they're flat instead, so you won't have like the line or anything. So you might find yourself coming in here, clicking on cropping mode, shape, and you could just select a shape. So if you had like a label or a carton, it would simply trace around that.
Okay.
But the difference here, you see, it's not actually removing the die lines, so the die lines are still present.
Now, do you have to crop?
You don't have to. So you can use like any of the modes. By default, it's on full page, so it's just going to find whatever it is on this side versus here. So you don't need to necessarily crop. If you might only want to crop if you're just looking for something specific on the sample side, or if your master is larger than what your sample is. So like if your sample only contained like the carton here on the right, and on the left you have this entire inch, so it's the same size, so it won't be able to find it correctly.
That's it.
Yeah. So I'll, the crop to contents here, so that helps with the manual. So let's, for example, I wanted to manually select something, so let's say I'm going around here, so if I click on crop to content, it's just going to simply adjust the box as close as possible to around what I selected. And then also going along here, so we have reload master, which we saw before. This is rotate, so clicking on this, you have options to rotate or mirror the image if you want. Then here is the Marquee Zoom, so just clicking on this, again, you could just click into a specific area. But in this one, the scroll wheel for the zooming works pretty good, so just using scroll wheel, you can just zoom in and out pretty quickly. You don't have to fiddle with the tools. All right, and going on to the sample side on the right here. So the icons are pretty much the same. The one that's different is crop sample. So here we can specify a specific region for inspection. So let's say, for example, I crop my master. So let's say I say manual. Let's say I'm going to look for this only. So if I run an inspection, it found the same image repeating twice. So here on the left I can tell, so there's a green and a red. So green means there's no differences, and then red means there is differences.
Okay.
So on the right here it says 2 repeats found. So repeat 1 0 differences, and then I can switch to repeat 2. There's one change, so it looks there's like a there missing. So let's say we want to inspect one area because it's trying to find. I selected this area. I only wanted to find this one, but it's finding both because the image is identical and it's repeating. So I could tell the software, I said, don't look for this. Make sure you look for this one only. The crop comes in handy. So I could say crop. I could draw a box around it, so I don't have to be very specific as long as it's a red. And I could say inspect. So I only found that one box, and there is no differences in there. So that might be helpful if you have like a bunch of labels and you only want to inspect one, and you want to ignore the rest. You could just use the crop and just drag it around one of the labels that you have. And the support rotated samples. If, for example, this one was rotated either degrees or 180. So let's say it was rotate this. I could just simply enable this option. Once it's enabled, it turns blue. Click effect, it'll automatically find that image. So we found that image. It's rotated here because that's what your sample looked like, and then the differences in there. So,
orientation. Sorry. Does orientation matter?
It doesn't matter. It's just for visual, I guess, viewing. So you have it rotated 90 degrees or 180. It won't matter. So just as long as you have this option on to look for that. So might have like let's see. Might have something like this. So you have that same image repeating multiple times, and like these two here in the middle might be rotated 180 degrees to like save space. So sometimes that happens. So even though those two are rotated 180 degrees, the software would still be able to find it. As long as this option's on, it would find all 6 of them at the same time.
Okay.
And then the next one is a match scale here. So it's very rare to use as well. In the event that you don't, your master and sample are not the same size. So let's say your sample is smaller than your master. You could use the match scale in order to software to manually try to stretch it in order to find the image. So the idea of how to use that is you would have to crop both sides. So I would have to use a manual. Let's say I'm going to draw my maps around here, so I could use the crop to contents to do it to the side. And then I'll do the same thing on this side as well. Oh, I missed it. And I could say match scale. So that means this image, it's going to match my in order to do an inspection. Because otherwise, if it's and your master is larger than that, so it's going to say that everything is moving like in and out. So you're going to get kind of like a breathing effect on the flash mode when we do the inspection. Yeah. Okay, and then last couple of icons here. So we have example, which we saw. Again, we can rotate the image. The Marquee Zoom, and then the reset viewport. So pretty straight stuff. There's just a couple of more options in the inspection, and then I'll go over like the setups and stuff like that. I could show you the barcode functionality as well. So
Okay.
actually, let's show the barcode now that I'm here. So just simply clicking on the barcode, I can do verify master or sample. So I want to verify the barcodes in the sample I can. So because I cropped only the first one, it's only going to find the barcodes in the first sample and not the others.
Okay.
So I could do verify sample because let's say I only want to check the first one. I'm just going to do evaluate. And it's going to detect the barcode. So no, it's not detecting the one on the top right here because by default the option, that's a farm code, and I have that option turned off. So if uncheck it, it should find that barcode, and it did. So
okay.
the codes are graded and decoded. They're also color coded as well. So these are A's, so they're appearing green. And to view the barcode, so it's on the first one. So clicking on the right arrow, it'll zoom right in to the first barcode. It'll view the type it is, the codability, all that information.
Okay. Is that printable?
It is. So the report is printable. So all I do is click on Generate Report, and it has the same information on that you saw on the left there. So here we have the barcode verification report. So it's telling us what we've inspected. So whether it was a scan or it was a PDF, it would inspect the barcodes. And then we have the 1, 2 there, and it's just a summary. So 2 barcodes were found, 2 barcodes with grade A, and then information for each barcode. So decoded value, I'll get the information here.
Cool. That's all.
And it's a PDF, so you can save it. Once we're done the barcode verification, you could just simply close it from here, and you're back to your inspection.
Okay.
So
is that it?
Yeah, barcode that's it. It's pretty much pretty quick. So it's not much. Really, a couple of buttons in another window. I mean, there's not much else. Not much. Remember anything, you'll remember how to do barcodes.
Yeah, right.
So I'm going to click on Run Inspection here. So I'll show you we cover the rest of the buttons here. So for the first, I should probably choose a different one because I don't think there's any differences on that. I know the difference is probably on this one. Let's use 2. Well, let's do these 4. Inspect those first 4 samples. So you can see on the left here it says 4 repeats found. So it's as it goes through, you see that there's like a little progress bar. And then any ones that are green means there's no differences, so I don't actually need to review them. So I can click on them if I want to see. And 3 and 4 have some differences, so I can click on 3, and then it's showing me the differences there. Okay, so the first one was the flash mode, so this flashes between the mask and sample. We have a little plus and minus here, so this one can actually increase the flash rate or decrease it. If it's too quick or too slow, you could just click on it multiple times. So I can like this, and just like float.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. It takes a whole lot of clicks, but eventually it'll like slow down. So there you go. That's going really slow. we saw the master and sample. So M shows us just what's on the master image. S is what's on the sample. The D is the difference image. So clicking on this, if we zoom out, it'll show us like an overall view of the inspection, showing in red boxes where it is in the areas, and also kind of how SolidProof determine differences are. So anything it kind of overlays both images, and it uses like a subtraction in order to determine the difference. So from here we see like a in black. So anything like this would be considered a difference, and the software would flag it. Or if it's white or okay. And then turn off the masks or the boxes. So let's say I didn't like this mask view. I can turn it off. So clicking on this button here, see the file as is. Yeah, the mask, this one here. Mask is just like this kind of like gray overlay where it's only highlighting the differences. For whatever reason you want to turn it off. So let's say maybe your background is maybe like a dark gray also, and it's kind of like hard to see the differences. You can just turn it off just by clicking that. Okay. Then you also have the ability to turn off the boxes and the numbers. So say for example you had like a difference, maybe it was hard to see what's happening in this barcode. So I could say let's turn off the boxes. So clicking on that button, so it'll just turn off the boxes and it'll just be on the flash mode. Or maybe the number, it might be blocking something. Let's say the number might be blocking something here, for example. So I can just simply turn off the numbers too, so it's not showing me the differences.
Okay.
And going along the right side here, so we have the option to set repeat as master. This might be useful if you're doing like a PDF to scan. So compare versus a scan, then you have multiple repeats. So for example, we have this, for instance, so the image is repeating multiple times. We can say after we inspect the first repeat, so let's say the first repeat is there was no differences. So I can use repeat as, now I can consider that as like, I guess my gold master, and I can use that one to compare to the rest of them. So it's more a like image versus the rest of the scan.
I see.
Yeah, I can do that. So I can click on the first button here, so set repeat as master. It's going to prompt me to select the setup. So the setups I'll go through afterwards. So let's say I'm on the proof setup, so I could say proof. I click OK. So it's going to just take that and inspect the rest of the samples. Again, go to the options, but this time it's using my repeat one to verify the rest of them.
The rest of them, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one here is we have the color picker inside. So inside the inspection view, we can actually measure the color and actually add the values to the report. As outside, when we were back in our two-panel view, we could just view the color difference, or the color measurement. So I can say, click on color picker. Let's say I remember this color was changing low. So click on an area, and it's telling me now what's on master and what's on the sample. So that difference was flagged anyways by the software, but it's not telling me the actual color measurement. So I can actually say I want to see that. So I can click here at the bottom left, so add difference. So right here on the right, I see it says 15 total differences. So clicking on add difference, it says apply to all repeats because I have it repeating. So I can say apply yes that color difference to every single one. So now in every single repeat, it'll show me the color measurement.
That's it.
So now 16. I can see, and then over here under the comments, so it's put in that information, and this will appear on the report.
I got you. We do that separately, the color picture.
Only if you want the color measurements to be shown on the report.
Okay.
It'll just show the color difference. And so if, for example, now I go to repeat 4, the same difference that I added on the previous one because I answered yes to apply to all repeats, it's as well. And then even if I go to repeat 1, so it's there as well. There's no actual color difference, but it's added it to the report. Okay, so back here. The next one is group differences. So I can group multiple differences into one. So let's say, for example, I'm inspection and maybe it's catching some of the edge difference because maybe that there's a cut or something. So I can just group them all to one. I could ignore them, or I could say like these two differences should be 1.
Okay.
So, for example, useful for the color one. So see, I have a color difference and I have the number 16, whereas I have the values. So I say group the differences as 1, clicking and dragging the box. It says apply to all repeats. I can say, let's say no, I only want to do it for this first one. So now both differences are grouped into 1. And that for multiple ones. So let's say group these as 1 difference. I can say yes or no, so I'll say no. And then now this is number 13, so it's showing it as 1 difference.
On spell check, when you could ignore all, kind of.
Exactly. We do also have exclude, so like the all. So we could, this one we were just grouping as 1 difference, but it'll still appear in the report. So, but I exclude multiple ones, so I could say exclude. So say I didn't care about this edge here. I just take a box around it. Let's say no. Now it's grouped those out. So now those won't appear in the report. And you can see on the menu here for the differences, they're not appearing on there.
Okay.
And then the next one is add a difference. So let's say, for example, I've noticed something that that needs to be changed or addressed. Because the server doesn't know whether something's, if the in the sample are the exact same, it doesn't know it's wrong. But say, okay, so instead of fast acting, it should be slow acting. So the software doesn't know it because it's the same on the master and the sample, but I can put it into the report. So by simply clicking on add difference, I box around it. Again, it's gonna, because I'm on doing repeats, so it's gonna ask me. I can say yes. And then for 14, so then this is there, and then I can apply a level or a comment.
Okay.
Okay. So for the differences, you don't necessarily need to click on them like here to put levels and comments. So you could just simply double click on anything in the view. So let's say for 15, I can just double click, and then I can apply a level and a cut right there.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
And then I can close it, and then let's say I want to scroll. Let's number 1 again. Double click. It'll tell me I'm on number 1, and I don't have to put a level. I could say just a text, and it'll update it here. So to go through the inspection. The last two, so Marquee Zoom, again, just click draw a box, it'll zoom in. And the reset viewport, this will reset it back to 100%. Finally, you have this save image. So saving the image, it'll just basically show whatever you see in here. you can't save a flash image. If you try, you'll get an error message. But you can save the master sample or different. So let's say if I wanted to save what's a master file, and I could maybe turn off the Mac if I wanted to. I could just do save, and I can save it as an image. So just basically like a screenshot, I guess.
But all that also shows on the report, right?
Yes, it'll like this will show on the report exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Also, the interface here you can change or modify. So let's say, for example, I want the differences not in there. I want to pull it out, so I can click on this one here, or I can simply just drag it out with my mouse. I can adjust it if I want, so I can make it smaller. If I want, I can dock it somewhere else. So if I want to dock it on this side here, let's want the overview panel. So I can change stuff around in here if I want to. Next to the question mark, you have the workspace icon. So the boxes is what's showing right now. So I can, if I left layout, I can say save. It'll delay out, so the next time I do inspection, it's going to save exactly like that. I can say reset. So if I want to reset it back to its original, I can go and reset and try to save this layout as well. Okay, let's back here. Oops. And so about our main view, so just under the folder, we have some additional options. So here we can save the master and sample, so I can save it as an image file if I want to. The DPI, so the DPI is what we use to inspect. How many dots per inch? So by default we use 300. So 300 for scanning, 300 for loading the PDF. Then we would change it to something higher if you had like really tiny text, so maybe like 4-point or 3-point text that to inspect. We can increase the DPI so it's more clear in the software and the scan. And so we talked a little bit about setups before. So the setups is we have different ones in order to do different types of inspections. They're like advanced parameters on how the software looks for differences, what type of differences it's looking for, and if it's accounting for scans or not. So the default ones, there's 4 default ones. There's booklet, digital, proof, and scans. The first one is booklets. Booklet is for multi-page inspection. If I'm not sure you inspect those, but if you're doing like a 40-page PDF versus a 40-page PDF, like it's able to do it all in one inspection. The digital would be for digital files. So if you're doing like PDF to PF, they're just like a revision file done by the same company. Digital would be it'll be more precise and more fine in finding like really tiny differences between the two. The proof one is for digital proofs. So, for example, it may not apply to you, but for example, a lot of companies they'll set like a PDF to a printer. The printer may modify or might slightly shift things or maybe compress the graphics slightly. So the proof account for that, for the lifting and not flag all the really minor differences. And then finally we have scans. So this is the default one. So if doing a PDF versus a scan, this is something we can start with just to see what the inspection results are. We can always customize it later depending on the inspection results in order to get better difference detection. I can show you So in terms of selecting the setup, so clicking on the folder, you just click on setups and then you just choose the appropriate one. So if I want scans, and then I can always verify it at the top left here. So it says setup scans. No, I'm using the appropriate one for inspection.
Got it.
Okay, and then so under the setups, there's so we can create new setups if necessary, depending on the samples. And inside one is there's parameters. So I don't expect you to know this. If you want, I can go with it. So it's just in terms of what it looks for in inspection. So the inspection mode is done in two different ways. There's a high contrast and a low contrast inspection. High contrast is with high contrast, so like black text on a white background. That's where it's looking for these parameters in order to determine if there's a difference or not. And the low contrast is maybe like blue text on a black background. So it's something very difficult to determine if there's a difference or not. So this is like a little more fine in picking up the differences.
Okay.
And for all the setups, like those inspections, they vary slightly. So for example, for digital, so difference diameter, it's looking for half a pixel. So anything greater than half a pixel, it's going to flag it as a difference. And it has to take into account the other things. So the maximum difference count which it can get is 5,000. Hopefully you never see that number. Hopefully you never see 5,000 differences in your inspection.
Yeah.
There is a maximum that's set here. Also allows for shifting. So the pixel is able to shift 25 pixels, so in any direction. So anything greater than that, it will flag it as a difference. Groups how many differences will group to one box. So anything within like a circular, like a radius of 44 pixels will be grouped into one. And the sensitivity, so we can always adjust that. So if it's too sensitive, picking up too many differences, we can lower that in order to determine, in order to get better inspection results while still catching the differences that you want to see.
You always want to keep that sensitivity pretty much right in the middle, though?
It depends on the sample. It would depend on what the differences that you guys are looking for. So I guess some testing would be required in order to determine what type of differences you guys are looking for, and we want it to catch. So it might be catching too much on the default ones. Usually I find that, especially for the scans, it might be a little too sensitive sometimes. So sometimes I'll lower it down a little bit and play with some of the other settings. So it depends. So like sometimes you might not even, depending on the type of material you're inspecting, you might not even need low contrast. So if you don't have like text on a dark background, it may not even be necessary to keep it on. Might just turn it off, because otherwise maybe it's picking up too many differences in dark areas.
Now, typically have to modify these often, right?
You have to modify them often. There would be like, maybe we have like general setups for, like, let's say one for like dark labels, one for like light labels, and if you like other types, so if you're doing like cartons as well, so if you have like cartons that are really heavy in graphics and are very dark, maybe one for that and then one for lighter ones. So we might have a few different setups depending on what kind of samples you actually have. The rest of it here is just for image finding for like the repeats. So one usually on for this is this auto distort. So this actually slightly stretch the image in order to better match it. It's different than what we saw before. Remember, we saw like the match scale. That one is if the dimensions are off by a lot. So this auto distort, anything like around 10%, it'll stretch slightly to better match it. So usually that happens with the scanning. Sometimes it's slightly off in maybe some of the dimensions, but this will account for that and also account for the alignment. So if you're putting in something into the scanner, it's not perfectly straight, it'll accommodate for that as well. That's on by default, so you don't have to worry about it. But it's not something I expect you to know. I just cover generally, but it's something that you would be fiddling around with all day.
Thanks for showing me that.
No problem. Okay, so apart from that, that's pretty much the training. Do you have any questions or anything you want me to go over again?
I don't think so. I think I'm okay. I was taking a lot of notes for talking. As far as like pulling in the proof, it wasn't any different than when you were uploading a document, to sort of let's just say like you're uploading a document to your bank account. You go to browse, automatically connect to your network drive. It's similar. I wouldn't have to have any network drives rerouted just to see.
No, you don't have to have whatever your piece has access to. It'll be the same thing. So just double clicking on it for the file. So see, I have all my shared drives. So it's the same exact that you would see.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
No, it seems pretty intuitive. I'm actually looking forward to the barcode module. That's going to be huge. So, yeah, I think we went over everything. So I just got to, go through a few trials myself, make sure, I understand it, go through all those things, and be there with the rest of the group. So.
Perfect.
I think I'm good to go.
Excellent. So if you have any questions or anything, you can reach out to support, and we'll be happy to assist you.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
Well,
thanks, Justin. Have a great day.
Appreciate your time, Jonathan. Have a good one. Thanks.
You too. Thanks. Bye.